ones by actual climatologists publishing in peer-reviewed journals. Never. Climate scientists don't make predictions, they make projections within the bounds of scenarios. The primary scenarios considered today are the UN IPCC RPCs. Representative Concentration Pathways RCPs. Scenarios that include time series of emissions and concentrations of the full suite of greenhouse gases GHGs, and aerosols and chemically active gases, as well as land use land cover, Moss et al., 2008. The word representative signifies that each RCP provides only one of many possible scenarios that would lead to the specific radiative forcing characteristics. The term pathway emphasizes that not only the long-term concentration levels are of interest, but also the trajectory taken over time to reach that outcome. Moss et al., 2010. WGIII. RCPs usually refer to the portion of the concentration pathway extending up to 2100, for which integrated assessment models produced corresponding emission scenarios. Extended concentration pathways ECPs describe extensions of the RCPs from 2100 to 2500 that were calculated using simple rules generated by stakeholder consultations, and do not represent fully consistent scenarios. 4 RCPs produced from integrated assessment models were selected from the published literature and are used in the 5th IPCC assessment as a basis for the climate predictions and projections presented in WGIAR 5 chapters 11 to 14. RCP 2.61 pathway where radiative forcing peaks at approximately 3 Wm2 before 2100 and then declines the corresponding ECP assuming constant emissions after 2100. RCP 4.5 and RCP 6.02 intermediate stabilization pathways in which radiative forcing is stabilized at approximately 4.5 Wm2 and 6.0 Wm2 after 2100, the corresponding ECPs assuming constant concentrations after 2150. RCP 8.51 high pathway for which radiative forcing reaches greater than 8.5 Wm2 by 2100 and continues to rise for some amount of time, the corresponding ECP assuming constant emissions after 2100 and constant concentrations after 2250. As you can see, there are 4 major ones, each assuming different pathways for the increase, leveling and decline of CO2e emissions and hence concentration in the atmosphere. Each therefore assumes significantly different actions by humans to curtail emissions or not. A major difference between a prediction and a projection is that instead of saying, "This is going to happen," a projection says, "Given these preconditions, this is a likely outcome, and here's the probability of it." Climate scientists make projections, not predictions. But their projections are pretty damned accurate. These, by the way, are older models from 1970 to 2007, most of which are no longer in use having been superseded by better models. So these are old models, and their projections were pretty damned good. But that's been true since the beginning. Arrhenius calculations from the 1890s still stand the test of time. CO2 warming the atmosphere isn't rocket science. Most people, when they talk about this kind of thing, end up rattling on Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. They claim the non-scientist communicator and politicians' predictions in his documentary were wrong. Well, that's not true. Gore's assertions were strongly aligned with the scientific understanding of the day, and the projections contained were mostly accurate. I scored each of his major projections a couple of years ago based on the passage of time. Hurricanes, 90% ocean circulation, 80% conflict, 100% Arctic ice, 100% Antarctic ice, 90% sea level rise, 100% extreme temperatures, 100%. That's a scorecard the average parent would love to see brought home by their brightest child in basic subjects, never mind on something as complex and challenging as climate change. Right now, our experience is that the scientific literature and the UN IPCC summaries understated the degree and severity of climate change. Sea levels are rising faster. Extreme weather events are above projections. And the world hasn't done nearly enough to deal with this. Next time someone tells you climate change predictions have never been right, realize that they are a motivated thinker or a propagandist. Treat everything out of their mouths as suspect. And don't bother to engage. If people are spouting that kind of nonsense in 2021, they are irredeemable. Go find sane people to work with to be part of the solution. Arguing with the intransigently ignorant minority won't help anything.